Do you want to introduce yourself? No, you're in.
Hi, so I'm Emma. This is Georgia. We're mentors here at MCI. Welcome to this month's monthly Mingle. Just to let you know, all your cameras are off and you're muted. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box. I think it's at the top of your screen, and we'll answer those for you at the end. Also, just to let you know, this is being recorded.
Okay, perfect. So today we'll be going through the winners of our prize campaign. We'll be announcing the winners. We'll also be going through goal setting and progression. So what happens when you fall behind and what we can do. And we'll also be going through resubmissions. So how to find them, what happens when you get them, and things like that. So we'll jump straight in. So we'll start with our prize campaign. So we have lots of different campaigns throughout the year for students. So this time we had a unit submissions campaign. So what that was a competition for students to submit units, and the winners was the prize, was 4 care package vouchers for 4 students who had submitted at least 1 whole unit by the 18th of September. So there were lots and lots of submissions, units coming in, which was amazing to see. And we've got our winners here. So I'll hand over to Emma to announce those. So they were...
Oh, also just to say, the more units you submit, the more chance you've got of winning. So the winners were Chan Mai Win, Benedicta Gates, Liana Carusi, and Elfeza Maslan. I hope I've pronounced your names properly. And congratulations to you all. You should be getting your vouchers in the next week or so. So do keep an eye out on your inboxes.
Yeah, well done, everyone. There's lots of campaigns like this throughout the year. So we'll have another one soon, I'm sure, as well. Alrighty, so let's move on to goal setting and progression. So let's talk about the importance of goal setting. So goal setting is really important for you in your course. It helps to break down your course into manageable targets of what to achieve by when. So what this means is it'll stop you from getting overwhelmed. It can often seem like when you're enrolled, there's so much work to do and you don't know how you're going to manage it all. But by breaking your work down into much smaller targets and hitting those step by step, it's going to make your course and your studies a lot easier. It will also help you to keep you on track, accountable and motivated. So by setting small goals one at a time, it's much easier to track through your course and keep you motivated rather than looking at the course as one big whole and sort of getting lost in that. So let's talk about how to set goals. So I'll pass over to Emma.
So when it comes to setting goals, the best thing you can do is to make sure your goals are SMART. What this actually means, SMART is an acronym. For the S is specific, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, and T is time bound. That's easy to forget, so just hit Google SMART goals and there's all sorts of information about what they are. It's also useful to have a look at YouTube and Google's and put SMART goals in, and you'll get some people break it down with visuals, explaining really thoroughly what they are. So the main thing is that the specific is that you're clear about what your goal is. Measurable is that you're able to say, did it happen or not, or how much of it happened. Achievable is that it needs to be something that you actually are able to do. And realistic is pretty much the same, that that it's a realistic goal that you've set. And time bound is that it connects to those two, that you've thought it is a realistic time that you've given to be able to do it in, and also that the time is relevant to how long your course is and how many units you've got. So do look, to start with, don't, like Georgia said, we don't want you to get overwhelmed, but it is ideal to look at your courses as a whole just to start with. So to see how many units you have. Do you have 9, 10, 12? Some courses have 12 or 13 units. So then what you want to do is break those up over the year. So if you've got 13 units, for example, rather than aiming to do a unit a month, you might be looking to do a unit every 3.5 weeks or so. Then the next thing to do is, once you've figured that out and you're tackling a unit, break that unit into manageable sections. So if there's different tasks on the unit, and once you've done your first unit, you will get a feel for how long they are and what the content is on those. So the first unit may take you a little longer as you're getting your head around navigating the platform, but do break that goal down in to, like, I'm going to get this done by week 1, this done by the 2nd week, and this done by the 3rd week, and submit by week 4, sorry, or halfway into week 3.5 if you've got a course that's got more units on it.
And don't forget, guys, your mentor is here to help you. So we're more than happy to help you set goals, help you come up with a study plan. If you've fallen behind, help you set some goals to get a bit of catch up in. But we're here to help you all the way. So please don't feel like you're alone in this. We're here to support you. We're here to help you set those goals. We're here to help you set realistic goals and support you through that. If you fall behind, we're here to get you back on track. So no, don't stress at all if you haven't met your target, you haven't met your goal, you feel like you're falling behind. There's always a way to catch up. There's always options for you. There's always things we can do to help you get back on track through goal setting.
Absolutely. We can we can look at your start date, your end date, and we can see what you've got left and help break that down into a manageable, realistic targets for you.
So let's talk now about resubmissions. So the first and probably most important thing with resubmissions is don't panic. Resubmissions don't mean that you're failing in the course, your answer's completely wrong, that you're not able to do anything. Resubmissions are really just there because what you have submitted isn't, fully up to what the assessor is looking for, or it might just be a tiny change you need to do. But the first thing is not to panic. There's nothing to worry about with resubmissions. If anything, it's a great thing because it means you get some extra feedback on your course. So absolutely don't panic if you do receive resubmissions. Do you want to go through this one?
Yep, so units take approximately 14 business days to be graded from when you first submit them. So that's what the assessor has for their turnaround. Sometimes you will find that you get it submitted and it's graded earlier than that. So do make sure you go and have a look at your grades area or at your units. We'll go through this because it's different on different platforms. And if you do have resubmissions, as Georgia said, don't panic. The assessor will give you feedback, and that feedback, if you have any difficulty understanding what it is, that's what we're here to go through it with you, and we can have a look what they've said and look at your submission. You do get 2 free of charge opportunities to resubmit. And what we recommend is, if you can see very clearly from the feedback what you need to do and feel confident, go ahead and do that resubmission. If you're not so sure, always reach out to us. And if you submit and it comes back and needs a little bit more, then always get back to us before you do that 3rd attempt.
So just like Emma said, it's really important that before you submit your unit, that your unit is 100% completed. If your unit isn't 100% completed before you submit, it will automatically be returned back for you, and you'll need to finish off that unit. And you've already used one of your resubmission attempts with that. So it's really, really important that you complete 100% of the unit to the best of your ability. So that means putting something down for everything, and just do your very best. And all that will happen is if you're not quite on the mark, you'll get some feedback, and you've got your mentor support to show you, where you can go with your assessments. But it's absolutely crucial that you complete 100% of the unit before you submit it for marking.
As Georgia said, do not leave a question blank and just submit the unit, because that is one of your attempts. And so it's really important, as she said, that you just put to the best of your ability, your understanding of what the question is. The assessor's basically looking to see that you've understood the question and been able to reflect that in your answer.
So make a note to yourself to check back in once you've submitted a unit. Check back in about 2 to 3 weeks later to see if you have resubmissions. The last thing you want to do is get to the very end of the course or get a really good way through the course and then find out you've got some resubmissions. It's really hard to go back and figure out, what was this unit about? What was I working on here? And get yourself back into the headspace of the unit you were working on. So what we recommend is just making a note to yourself to say, okay, I've submitted my unit today. I'm just going to make a note to check back in a couple of weeks, see if there's any feedback there, see if there's anything I need to resubmit, and do those resubmissions sooner rather than later. It's just going to be a lot easier for you. So yeah, we recommend doing any resubmissions, if you have any, as soon as possible, only because that way the unit's still fresh in your mind, the content's still really fresh in your mind, the assessor feedback will make more sense. You've got your mentor there. It's just going to be way easier for you to get to them straight away rather than wait till the end of the course or wait a few months later and come back. It's really, really hard.
And the assessor feedback is key to passing your unit. They give you really detailed feedback. As I said, if you don't understand what they've said, please let us know. But it's really important you also attend to all parts of the feedback, because often questions may have more than one part to them. There might be multiple things that need to be included as per the marking criteria, and the assessor might be telling you multiple things in their feedback. So just make sure you do read it carefully and attend to anything that they've said.
Yeah, exactly. The feedback's there to help you resubmit correctly. It's going to be your key, it's your guide, your clue to your next submission, is in your assessor feedback. So give it a really good read. And if it's hard to understand or you're not too sure, you're a bit confused, just reach out to your mentor. We're more than happy to help you. So let's go through how to find resubmissions in the different portals. So we'll go through New Moodle first. Okay. So this is an example of what a Moodle course will look like. So for those joining us in Moodle, you'll be familiar with this. So to find if you have resubmissions, you should receive an email, but it's also good to double check. So you'll need to pop into your course. And you'll see on this black bar on the left, there's lots of different sort of buttons for things. You want to go right to the top where it says grades. Click on that, and that will open up a grade book for you. You want to click on grade and submissions report here. And this report will show you every assessment, if it's been completed, what the result is, and if you have any feedback. So you can see here 4 assessments have been submitted. These 2 down the bottom have been satisfactory. There's some assessment for us. It's our first attempt, when it was marked and who by, but we can see these top 2 questions have actually been marked not yet satisfactory. And there's some assessor feedback as to why. So what we can do is click on those assessments.
So on this platform, this is one of the best ways to get an overview, where on the page Georgia was just on, because you'll see every single question you've answered. You'll be able to scroll through and see anything that's come back as not satisfactory.
Yeah.
And it is actually useful, even at the end of or halfway through your course, just to have a double check that you haven't missed anything there.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can also go straight into your assessment from your gradebook and add a new attempt, or add a new attempt based on a previous submission. All that will do is bring up your submission and you can add to it. So that's a great way to find it in Moodle. And you can see, obviously not everything's been answered, but it will show you every assessment in the course, feedback, your grade, all the information you need. So it's always good to have a quick look of this, every couple of weeks. So we'll go through EduWorks next. So I'll pass over to you, Emma.
Okay, so EduWorks, this have just gone in. This is the first unit of this course, and just clicking on this to see the grading. So it says completed. That means that that unit has been completed in terms of all the questions have been answered, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's been marked as 100% satisfactory. So when we go into it, you can see going through it, there is going to be some feedback. So progress, this is 100% because it's 100% completed, but it isn't finished. So I'm just going into the written questions, because I do believe you receive an email letting you know when your unit's been graded. And here you can see in the written questions, they're not satisfactory. So there are some that need to be attended to. And here in the submission details, you can go in and see what you submitted, your answers, because here's retake the quiz, but in here you can see your previous answers. And here we can see the feedback from the assessor. So a good start, question 5 needs to be reworked and resubmitted. Please review the feedback for that question. So I'm just going to go into details. And here I can see the feedback directly under the questions. So question 1 was fine. We've got a score of 1 out of 1. Question 2 was worth 3. That's because it had more than 3 parts to it. So as I said, some questions will have multiple parts. Again, question 3 has been 5 out of 5. If you've got questions that say list, they do simply mean list. If you've got explain or describe, they are wanting you to expand on your answers. So here it was just list and 5 out of 5, because there's 5 that are relevant to that question. Again, another list question. And here, number 5, we can see that it's got a score 0 out of 1, and it's got the trainer feedback. So in this case, your answer focuses on what is, rather than the value of applying critical thinking to work. So the question here was asking, what is the value? Not asking what is critical thinking. And the answer here that's been given is what critical thinking is, not in what way it's useful or the value of it. So here, if I was unsure what the assessor meant, I could speak to my mentor and say, look, I'm just not sure what they mean by value. I thought that's what I've done here when I explained it. The other thing you could do yourself is, with this feedback, you could just Google the word value and say, what does value mean? Versus, versus what the thing is versus value. And there would be some answers there that will give you some ideas on how you could change that. But I think this is quite clear feedback. But yes, as I said, if it's ever not clear, don't do another attempt without talking to your mentor. However, if it is clear, just answer that straight away. If you're confident, just resubmit, and that will go back off to the assessor. Make sure that you attend to any resubmits you've got and then submit, because you don't want to be having that count as another attempt where you've actually neglected to answer one of the ones that you've got to do.
Perfect. So that is EduWorks. We'll also go through New Catapult. Just give me one moment. Let me get rid of this black. One. Perfect. So here is an example of a unit that needs some resubmissions. Ignore that this says completed. You'll always see, it's super clear in your Catapult, it'll say feedback from trainer, but you'll need to click into your unit and go into your timeline. And your timeline is where you'll find your assessor feedback. So we can say on the 2nd of April, this unit was started. It was submitted a few days later, but the assessor has come back with some feedback to say, it's a great thing, a great performance, but there's a few questions you need to have a look at. And if you click on show snapshot, it will take you straight away to your assessments that you need to resubmit with the feedback, with your submission there to have a look at, so you can go in and resubmit. So always look at your timeline if you are studying in this platform to see what your feedback is, where it is that you're looking for, and you can also get a bit of a snapshot of where you're up to in this unit, how many attempts you've done, and if it's been marked as completed, you'll get this little notification here as well. Okay, so that's the 3 different platforms. So we might move on now to questions. So if you have any questions, please just type it into the chat.
Thinking of common questions that we get while you're thinking of questions to add to us, one of them is, how long should my answers be? So really the answer to that is it depends. It depends on the question. And as I did say earlier, if it says list, it really does just mean list. If it's got explain or describe, it wants you to expand on your answer. And you will notice that in each unit, often what's happening is it starts off with quite simple questions, which is trying to get you brainstorm and into that topic of that unit, and then it will progress and it will build, and often a unit will culminate with a small assignment task or a mini project that's getting you to think about that unit and topic in more detail. So yeah, really the length of the questions depends, and depending on what platform you're working on, you may be able to put, like when they're list questions, just directly type those answers in, but there will be times when you'll be uploading Word documents and working on Word to do those answers to questions that are longer.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a question here. Would it be better to submit to a mentor before an actual resubmission? Yeah, you can. So if you have a resubmission, you're not too sure if you've got it right, so you don't want to completely resubmit yet, reach out to your mentor and say, here's what I've got. Can you tell me if I'm on the right track? That's completely fine. But yeah, it's always better to be, really sure before you resubmit, because you only get a certain number of attempts.
But I think this person's also said just submission. So with regards to your first submission, just approach the question as confidently as you can. At the beginning of your course, you will have had extra contact with your mentor, because we'll be reaching out, talking to you, finding out how you're settling into the course. But with those first submissions, we think just confidently answer the question. If you are really unclear what the question is, do please clarify it with us, email us, or in our appointments, ask us how we can help you with that question and what it means. But otherwise, if you think you've got a fairly good hold on it, just be confident, do that first answer. What can help sometimes is to read ahead and look at the next questions, and that can help you understand more what that previous question's about. Because as I said, they do tend to build on each other, and sometimes it might just be the wording that's thrown you out, and then the next question might make that suddenly aha moment, so that you understand what it is that they're after. But it is an online course, and that is why you do get the 2 free of charge opportunities to resubmit. So we do think if you feel like you're relatively confident, absolutely feel free to submit straight away. As mentors, we're not the assessors, so we are here to guide you, and we can certainly have a look at things before you do submit if you're really worried, particularly like Georgia said, if you're resubmitting, then we can have a look with you. But as I said, we're not the assessors, so it is really important to attend to that feedback. It's more a case of, if you're not clear what that is, absolutely reach out to us and we'll help clarify it.
Perfect. So I've got a couple more questions here. So Pauline's asked, is there a time limit of completion on the course? So yes, so when you're enrolled, you're given a start and an end date. So your end date is when you want to complete the course by. If you haven't completed your course by your end date, there are some options. You are able to extend your course and purchase an extension and things like that. But the time limit on completing your course is by your end date. So I hope that helps, Pauline. Kylie's also asked us, is there any relationship between mark allocation and time spent on an assessment? So do you want to take that one, Emma?
I think really just like with that one that I showed you, where some of them were worth 3, some were worth 5, some were worth 1. That does give an indication that there's more than one thing being asked. Overall, it's kind of mixed whether that's absolutely certain or not. And it really is just a case of the assessor needing to see that you've understood the question and been able to reflect that in the answer. So this course, you do need to get 100% satisfactory to pass on all our courses. But in saying 100%, if you wrote above and beyond what's needed, you wouldn't get more. You just need to meet the marking criteria.
Kylie's also said, is there a process if the mentor and the marker give you different feedback? Always take the feedback you've gotten from the assessor as your guide for your resubmission. So that will always be your priority, and your mentor is there to help you with the feedback your assessor's given you. So we're going to look at your resubmission and your feedback and help you with that. But we won't really give you different feedback to what the assessor's given, because the assessor at the end of the day is who's marking your work.
Paulie's got a question
one
here.
More question.
What if I've taken a break during the course?
Yes.
So during the course, as Georgia explained, you have a certain amount of time and you have a set end date. It's really important that you do show progression. That keeps you accountable. It keeps the momentum going. But one thing, if obviously occasionally people have holidays or things come up. So just communicate that with your mentor, make sure that they're in the loop and aware of what's going on. And any reasons for taking a break, you can discuss with them. It is always really good, if you can, to try and get ahead. So when you're setting your goals, if you know that you're going to be away for 2 weeks at a certain time, then it's really great to actually plan for that and do schedule in some extra time, get ahead, so that you can actually relax if you've got that week or two off. And then if anything unexpected does happen, that's when you can absolutely let us know, and we can make sure that we can put that in our notes and what's happened, and we will see how best we can accommodate you and then get you back on track.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, Pauline, if you've just taken a little bit of time off your course, your end date remains the same. If you have taken a suspension from your course, your end date will change. So say, for example, if you suspend for 3 months from your course, your end date is moved to 3 months later. Yeah, exactly. So if you've taken a suspension, you will have received an email as well, which will have your new end date. But your end date is your end date, and that's when you need to complete your course by. Okay.
And with regards to suspensions, there are certain criteria to be able to do that. So talk to your mentor about that. It may be that you need a medical certificate to do that. There may be documents required for you to be able to do suspension. So just reach out and speak to your mentor if you're ever needing to take a break for any reason.
Perfect. All righty. Well, if there's no other questions, we might wrap up here. If anything pops up throughout the day that you might have wanted to ask but have forgotten, please just reach out to your mentor. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining.
And have a great rest of the day. Happy studying.